Welcome, and in this lesson, we're going to learn how to use existing Ldap credentials for single sign-on. Now, we're going to be doing something a little bit different than we did with connecting to an Active Directory server with Realm-D. We're going to be using an open Ldap server in the background here, and we're going to be using Authconfig. Sometimes Realm-D won't work for us, and we need to be able to have a different option. So this is what we're going to do here. So go ahead and connect to your public IP address in the lab server using VNC. This needs to be GUI based. Now, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to configure auto mounting of the user's home directory whenever they log into our Red Hat 7 server. This is going to be mounting from another server in the background of this lab that's an NFS server. What's really cool about this is imagine this. You have 1,000 servers. You have a user's home directory which contains important information that you might need, like scripts for managing those servers. So let's say you have to log into one of those servers. Well, how do you get access to those scripts? Well, if you're going to use single sign-on for your Red Hat servers, you log into one of those servers, we're going to configure it to automatically create a new home directory, and then we're going to use AutoFS to auto-mount that NFS. So we're going to automatically create a new home directory that's going to be mounted from our NFS server. So everything that's in our NFS server user's home directory is going to automatically be there for us. How cool is that? That's really cool. So let's go ahead and connect to our lab server using VNC. The VNC user password, which was provided in the lab guide, is 123456. So let's also go ahead and open up a new terminal window inside of our VNC. So inside of here, I'm going to fix my zoom so you can see better. I'm going to do a SU into the root user. That's also 123456. Now, in order for this to work, we need to download a tool. So we need to make sure to do a yum install authconfig-gtk. This is going to give us a GUI-based tool, which is a lot easier for configuring Authconfig and single sign-on Ldap connections. So let's go ahead and download that tool. Now that it's downloaded, we can either launch Authconfig-gtk if you're in front of a terminal. However, this won't work on VNC. So we'll just go down to Applications, then down to Sundry, and then now Authentication. So it's going to instruct us to enter in our password, so we'll do so. And it's going to basically say, well, you need a few extra packages in order for this to work. So we'll go over here under User Account Database and we'll select Ldap. It's going to say you need NSS-PAM-LDAPD. So let's do a yum install -y NSS-PAM-LDAPD. And let's go ahead while it's doing that and close out our authentication window. Now that it's installed, let's go ahead and go to Sundry again, go to Authentication, Ldap, and now it says we need PAM-KRB5. So we'll do a yum install -y PAM_KRB5. Now this is the last package that we're going to need to install, and the reason I'm showing you this because it's important just to know if we're missing packages for this, it's actually going to tell us. So now we'll come down, open up our Sundry Authentication again, go to Ldap, and now we're ready to configure our Ldap connection. Now we need to configure our domain component, our DC. We have our Ldap server, which is ldap.linuxacademy.com. So we'll do DC equals the first part of that domain, which is Ldap, comma, DC equals the second part of that domain, Linux Academy, comma, DC equals the third part of that domain, which is com. Then we're going to change our Ldap server to ldap://ldap.linuxacademy.com. If you were given a CA certificate, all you would do is select Use TLS, then download CA certificate, and then enter in the certificate URL. Then hit OK. However, our lab doesn't come with that, so we're not going to use TLS to encrypt connections. Next, we can come down to Advanced Options. Under Advanced Options, we want to create home directories on first login. Again, our goal here is to make it so that no matter what server you log into, you can use the same sign-on, which is configured on the Ldap server, so the same user on a central server, and you can use that server on any one of the thousands of servers you have configured with this configuration. And when you log in, it'll automatically create a home directory and mount your home directory from a central NFS. So regardless of what server you have the same home files. So We'll also go under password options. We're going to change our length to 6 because our password on our lab server is only 6 characters long. And then we'll select apply. So now we need to configure our AutoFS because we have to be able to mount an NFS share and auto mount that. So we need to make sure we install 2 packages. We need to do a yum install -y for yes to all. Then we need to install the AutoFS package and then of course the NFS utils. The NFS utils is required because we're automatically mounting an NFS share. That's what AutoFS is going to allow us to configure. Now we need to go inside of the etc directory and we need to create a new file. AutoFS has a set of configuration files inside of the etc directory. First, we're going to create our own here. We're going to call it vim auto.home. And inside of this file, we're going to say we're mounting to the /home/users directory. This is our mount point. And it's going to be the nfs.linuxacademy.com:/NFS share. This is our share on our remote NFS server. So we're mounting this to /home/users. Then we'll go ahead and hit save and exit. Next, we need to edit our auto.master file. Inside of here, really at the top, it doesn't matter where you do it, we're going to add a new configuration. We're going to do a /dash, and then inside of the etc auto.home. So it's saying, look at our configuration here. And this /dash is basically saying we're going to mount our configuration to whatever's specified in our auto.home directory. And we specified /home/users. So because we specified it there, all we have to do is reference that configuration because this is going to auto mount that. It's going to auto mount it /home/users, and it's going to work with our create users home directory on sign on. And we'll go ahead and hit save and exit. Now we want to make sure our AutoFS system service is running. So we'll do a systemctl start AutoFS. And because we want to ensure that there's persistence, we want to enable it. So if that command starts successfully, we'll do a systemctl enable AutoFS. If we don't do this, it's not going to survive a reboot and we will fail. So we've now enabled this and we have one final configuration. We need to ensure that our SSH service is configured to allow Ldap authentication. So we'll do a vim on a file inside of the pam.d directory called sshd. At the top of this file, we need to add a few configurations. So we have auth, we're going to add sufficient pam_ldap.so. We're going to add in a library. Then it says allow for authentication through SSH. Now, if you're inside of a physical machine, you won't really need to do this because this is for SSH authentication. Just keep that in mind. So we'll do pam_permit.so. So we have 2 lines, both first and second column are auth sufficient, and then the third column is pam_ldap.so for the first one, and then for the second one it's pam_permit.so. Save and exit. In order to apply these configurations, we'll do a systemctl restart sshd. So now that we have this, we are ready to go ahead and test our single sign-on. Remember our goal for all of this. So I'm actually going to open up a terminal on my personal home machine. From here, I'm going to attempt to connect to that server. Get my server's IP address. I'm going to do an SSH. And keep in mind, this is also in the lab guide, but the single sign-on user that was configured on the Ldap server is called test. That test is going to be at our public IP address. And we'll hit enter. And our password is 123456. So we logged in using our central user. If we were to check our lab server over here again, and we were to do a cat on the etc passwd file and grep for the test user, it wouldn't exist because it's not a local user. But it exists on our central sign-on server. And we configured SSO to allow us to log in to this Linux Academy Red Hat 7 lab server. It automatically created the home directory if it didn't exist. If we type pwd, you see our home directory /home/test. This home directory and the contents of this home directory are actually mounted on an NFS server. So anytime we were to log into another single sign-on Red Hat server and it automatically creates the home directory on that local machine and then mounts our remote NFS server, our files are going to be in here. So we can take our home files with us wherever we go on whatever server is configured with single sign-on. So all of our other servers, we don't have to configure a local user for each server. We don't have to configure all of our home directories or scripts that we need for administrators on each server. All we have to do is configure single sign-on, manage our users on one server, manage our home files on one server, and then all we have to do is configure our machines to communicate with those servers with AutoFS and Ldap single sign-on. So that concludes it for this lesson. Go ahead and complete this lesson.